Okay, this is the 10th of December. This trade, I took it because there are so many lessons to learn from this trade. It started with, first of all, the day opened with a huge downtrend. It's been falling for about almost 6 hours, and the trade opened with the sell, and then the buyer stepped in on the next candle, and then they pushed the market up, and that was when I entered the trade. If you look at my buy, I had already closed part of this buy trade. Now the market is coming back to my entry point. I had already sold part of my trade. I entered for the buy, and when I was exiting, automatically you exit with a sell. So it got to a resistance point if you look at the 1 hour chart, and then it dropped from there. And now the market is coming down to my entry, and the buyer stepped in and they pushed the market above the daily pivot point, because I was marking the daily pivot point as my first point of taking profit. And then after taking the profit, it dropped almost to my entry point, and then it moved back. Now this is a lesson you need to learn when you're trading a pullback. If the market doesn't break the first and the second retracement point, you should still stay on the trade. If it breaks the first one, wait for the second one. If the second one breaks, you need to get out of the trade. But if it breaks the first one and it did not break the second one, you can still stay in the trade. Like in my case here, it almost broke the first one, and the buyers just stepped in and they pushed the market up and pushed it beyond the daily pivot point. So like I said, I took already some profit during this area in this section of the daily pivot, and I still have about 0.25 micro lot still waiting. And before entering the trade or during the trade, I had already set this alarm. Now this alarm is a major resistance point. So because I'm not gonna sit and watch this the whole evening, so I set up my alarm. Once it gets to that point, it should tell me so I can come and close some part of my trade. So now I'm just I'm away from my computer while my alarm is being set and waiting for it to see if it gets to this major resistance point. And we can see from my currency strength indicator that it looks like the buyers and the sellers, they are struggling. The yellow line is the Japanese yen, while the white one is the New Zealand dollar. So we can see the Japanese yen is falling, is dropping, while the New Zealand dollar is just kind of like wavering. It's not ready to react. But as long as the Japanese yen is dropping, the price will keep going up, will just keep shooting up. So we can see the buyers are really in control of this market today, being the 10th of December. Okay, so the sellers are coming in a little bit. but that might just be just one candle, and already we can see the bias from the 1 minute chart. We can see the bias already coming in, and you can see how they took it up. All right, so it got to my alarm, so I came in and I closed. You can see I'm closing some profit. Okay, so I closed both the large account and the small account, and let's see what happens here. So once it hit that R2, which is the daily resistant one, which was the major resistance point, you can see the market started dropping from there. So it started dropping, and we can see from the complete strength indicator, the Japanese yen, you can see the line is now pointing upwards, and the New Zealand dollar is pointing downwards. That's why we can see this pullback right now. So it's pulling back. It's pulling back. Let's see where it's gonna get to and then stop. So this is another point setting up for you to get into another round of trade. This is another point. As long as it's not breaking the first and the second lower low and lower high, you can still keep your trade. But I had to exit because I don't want to give back the profit to the market. So this could be another point to get into the trade. You can see it didn't come even close to the first lower low. So we can see it actually came to the daily pivot point and it bounced up from there. Let's see if it's still gonna come down. It's still trying, but the buyer said nope, this market deserves to go up. So right now it's like a struggle between the buyers and the sellers, and we can see from the complete strength indicator, we can see the Japanese yen is shooting up, and the New Zealand dollar also is pointing upwards. That's why it's like a struggle in this section using the 1 minute chart. So it's the sellers now pushing it down. They're pushing it down. Let's see if they are going to break the daily pivot point, or the buyers will just take it up from there. So on the currency strength indicator, we can see there's a divergence between the Japanese yen and the New Zealand dollar. So the Japanese yen is pointing up, the New Zealand dollar is pointing down. The Japanese yen is the yellow line and the New Zealand dollar is the white line. So let's see if it's going to break the daily pivot. So it's getting to the daily pivot, and the buyer stepped in and they are trying to push it up. They are pushing it up. They are pushing it up, but the sellers are not giving up yet. And the buyers are still trying to push it up as well. Now looking at the one hour chart, you can see that this line went up to that alarm point. This was the alarm point, and then it dropped. That's the drop we're looking at right now on the 1 minute chart. And then in the next hour, this was 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you have the white line. That's on the 1 hour chart. The next candle, which is the green candle, is 6 p.m. The next one is 7 p.m. So the 7 p.m. candle got up to my alarm point, which is at 71.225, and then it dropped to that point. It dropped down to almost the pivot point, the daily pivot point from the 1 minute chart. And now at the 8 o'clock hour, we can see that the buyers are still trying to push this market up. They don't want to give any chance to the sellers. They are pushing the market back up. Normally this 8 o'clock hour should have been a sell, because this is what they usually do. When the market starts, it starts with a sometimes with a sell, like in this case with a sell, and then 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock it moves up to a buy, and then at 8 o'clock it turns around to be a sell. Now that turning around to be a sell is the time the smart money are taking profit, or people are taking profit, and then at 9 o'clock it resumes the upward trend in this case. But with the market today, they are not giving any chance for the sellers to make any, or rather, they are not taking profit. So everything is just in the sell, in the buy trend, and we can see the 8 o'clock is just moving up. It's just shooting up. It's just shooting up. It's just shooting up, and we can see it's almost getting to the point where it bounced the first time. So let's see if it's going to break the daily R1, the daily resistance point R1, and it's breaking it, and it just broke it. So the trend today seems to be very strong on the bullish side. So I'm still keeping my 0.05 lot trade. I'm still keeping it. I'm still keeping it. And we can see here that it's been on a huge uptrend today. There's no chance for a sell today. Everything is just on the upward trend. Now, normally I should have reversed my trade for a sell when it dropped, but I decided not to, because the dropping of the candle using the 1 hour chart was getting close to the daily pivot. We can see in this big account. Going back to the small account, we can see is getting, or rather to the big account again, is getting close to the daily pivot, and that's why I decided not to reverse my trade, because there's a chance it could reverse and then go back up, and that's exactly what it did. It got to the daily pivot from the 1 minute chart, and then it just went back up again, and so it's trying to come back down after crossing the daily R1, and then I closed my trade. So this was what happened in my day today, and there are several lessons which you could learn. Always make sure you have your daily pivot, because that is a point where the market tends to react, either positive or negative. And in this case, it acted in a positive way. It just kept going. It did not break it. It did not reverse. It just kept going to the upward side, and I capitalized on that. And at the end of my trade today, I made almost 60 pips for this trade. So these are the kinds of trades you can expect during the Asian market. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm going to be releasing more videos like this every week. Thank you, and have a good night. Bye bye.